Eskin Show. As we do this live, it is on Saturday morning, but available forever on your at least 7 social media platforms. YouTube, I found out for many people, is the easiest. And you subscribe and you get notified when we have the show coming on. And the Howard Eskin Show is presented by a great partner, and that would be Stillwell Financial Advisors. Stillwell Financial Advisors, any wealth that you want to invest, Jeff Stillwell is the guy, really knows his stuff. I told you I've gotten together with him. I get to know people before they become a part of anything that I do. You will understand him, he'll understand you. Terrific knowledge and education he gave me, and he'll give you any wealth that you want to invest. Jeff Stillwell is the guy, and it's important that he's a pretty sharp guy. Now, if you want to be impressed, here's his number: 732 343 0813. 732 343 0813. Stillwell Financial Advisors, our presenting sponsor on the Howard Eskin Show. And this morning, we have, listen, I always try to have special guests. And we have a special guest, and that would be Jeremiah Trotter. But we also have something special for you this morning. Now, we're going to talk, obviously, football and the draft. As we speak, they've completed 3 rounds. There's only one surprise, but I think it's only a surprise because of his name. But we'll get into that as well. But also, what I have for you is we're going to, kind of reward you for being a listener and a viewer of the program. We got a giveaway here. Yes, we've got pairs of Oakley sunglasses to give to you. So now here's how you can win. Listen carefully to my conversation on today's show with Jeremiah Trotter. And listen carefully, because I'm sure there's going to be some words of wisdom. I'm sure by me, but I'm sure by Trot as well. At the end of the show, I'll ask you a question about the interview. Email your answer through the contact page at howardeskin.com. The winner, randomly chosen from all the correct entries, and the emails must be received by midnight on Tuesday. That's 12 a.m. Wednesday, April 30th, and we'll announce the winner on the next show, which will be Wednesday, April 30th. Now, just to let you know, after Trot, we got to talk about the Phillies. They are really strong. I'm going to get into it, and we'll get into it later. But also, before we get to Trot, and there's going to be a lot of things. I don't know how many people are watching the NBA. We'll talk about draft more after Jeremiah Trotter's on. But I want to also tell you about more great partners that we have on the Howard Eskin Show. You want a pool? It's, the weather's getting nice. Don't wait, because then you're going to have to wait, because Piazza Property Pros, very popular people. The experts will come to you, whether you're going to build an in-ground pool, whether you're going to have renovations, whether you're going to have landscaping. 25 years of really great experience and expertise. And here's an important thing. They have, besides the 25 years, all their people are their people. They don't subcontract. They are their people. Excavation, landscaping, whatever you want, you can trust Piazza Property Pros. Exceptional people with exceptional results within your budget. Here's the number: 610-566-2608. You can do it today. Schedule a free consultation. That's 610-566-2608. Or check them out on the internet, piazzaoutdoor.com. You won't be disappointed. And you get tired of paying a lot of money for cable? Don't we all get tired of paying a lot of money for cable? Overpriced, but we can take care of that for you with another great participant and partner here on the Howard Eskin Show. Cut the Cord with Jason offers an incredible service. It'll save you money. He'll come out to your house, cut the cable off. Enough of that. Set you up with a wireless service that's less expensive. Streaming services, which include local and national channels. You'll get all the Philadelphia Pro games. And if you have a second home, You can hook that up. No, it's no extra charge. Jason can set you up with only one monthly TV bill for both houses. For more information and to save lots of money on your cable, call Jason 215 801 5858. That's 215 801 5858. And the car that I drive could be the car that you drive. No tariffs. There's no tariffs when you buy a car now at Audi of Westchester. Audi Westchester, and I'm getting a new car probably sometime in the next month. Great state of the art facility. Audi Westchester, great people, nice people, pressure free. You want a new car. And here's another good thing Audi Westchester is part of the Mainline Automotive Group. You'll have access to the largest selection of new and pre owned Audi vehicles in the tri state area. Stop by Audi Westchester. They're located 1421 Wilmington Pike, or visit AudiWestchester.com. That's AudiWestchester.com. All right. Our show this morning, and I'm excited to have him as soon as he said he could be on the program. And that would be Jeremiah Trotter, the Axeman. We got another Trotter on the team, but it just, you can't have too many Trotters, right? You can't have too many Trotters. And welcome this morning. You can't have too many Trotters, right? Trotter.
Hey man, working out pretty good so far.
Yeah, you know what? And you got another kid on the way. Can you imagine? Has there ever been two brothers on the same team? I know the Griffeys had father and son playing for a short time, the father and son, but I don't know if there's ever been two brothers on the same team. But that's a couple of years away.
Yeah.
That's a couple of years away. All right, hey, Trot. First of all, the draft is always such an un it's a bunch of names, but the tension is felt by the people. Now, you were a third round pick, and I'll get into your son in a second. And I don't know where back then when you were drafted in 1998 by the Eagles, whether you thought you would go earlier, whether you thought you would go later. How tough is it back then, even then, waiting for your name to be called?
It's tough, man. It's tough because you hear a lot of things. Everyone has an opinion. Every team has their own opinion, And for me, you know, I think most teams had me on first round board, but I failed all my physicals. So, I was hearing first round, second round, um, but we knew there was a possible chance I would drop because of the physicals. With my left knee, I tore my knee in college, and you know, you're hoping somebody take a chance or somebody's doctor's evaluation is different. But and it was a little different back then, Howard, because the first three rounds was on day one. So you didn't have to wait to the next day or the third day to get drafted. So if you had a party, you had a pretty good idea you could go in the top three rounds, so you was good. It's tough when you have a party and everybody's there, and they're looking at you and you wait to get drafted, and you don't get drafted. That's tough, man, and I hate to see any kid or parent going through that. I went through it personally. I watched my son go through it, and but you know what? At the end of the day, if you get your name called, you're blessed enough to get your name called. Man, it's a blessing.
When you kind of think about the situation when you're injured. Now the Eagles, it doesn't seem to bother them. Cooper DeJean was really a first round pick last year, but he lasted into the second round where the Eagles could get him. He's turned into a hell of a player, but he was injured when he was at Iowa. But they don't worry about it. Jihad Campbell, the player they took. Now they got him with the next to last pick in the third round. They moved up just to make sure they got him. But he was injured too, and he may not even be ready for the start of the season. It seems like it's different now, maybe because the rehab is different, the medicine is different, the doctors have better things that they can work with to help a player. It doesn't seem. Do you see the same thing? It doesn't seem where injuries are as big an issue when teams draft a player.
I think all the things you mentioned are in factor. Doctors are better. surgeries are more advanced. Um, they're less abrasive. The rehab is fast, quicker, you know. And back when I tore my knee, surgery was good, this and that, but I had surgery by a team doctor, and Stephen F. Austin. But now I think the Eagles do a great job of having their doctors look at them, evaluating them, and saying, okay, this is what we think, and they go with that. It worked out well for them when they drafted me. It could have very easily went the other way, but I was fortunate enough, blessed enough to be able to play 11 seasons in the NFL, and they just have to do their own evaluation of the player, the history of injuries, and how focused they are, how they take care of their bodies. That's a big part, man. Being able to take care of your body during the course of the season.
Mhm.
So they've done a good job with that.
You know what? The back then, and we talked to Joe Banner recently on the show, and Andy Reid was the coach. The philosophy hasn't changed from that period. You build on the offensive and defensive line, and obviously the Eagles lost some defensive players.
Mhm.
Has the game changed in that way where when teams go after, when they build a team, and you looked at the draft, the first 3 rounds, there's a lot of offensive and defensive linemen taken, a lot
Right.
taken in the first 3 rounds. Do you think the philosophy of a football team has changed from that time to the way they are right now?
I think so. I think your philosophy has to change because the game has changed, right? The game is not the same as when I played. It's more wide open space type of game. Obviously, teams run the football, but you have to be able to throw the football. You have to be able to throw the football in order to go deep into the playoffs and win championships, right? Um, those days of just running the football, managing the game on the offense side of the ball, you're not going to see a lot of that. So when the game is wide open and it's faster, you have to have guys that are better in space, right? So you need linebackers, you need safeties. It's always been you need corners and D linemen, right? Now teams are starting to see you need these other guys also be able to play in space and make those big plays in space.
You know, the situation last year, and I love these people that are draft experts. They're draft experts. So they all have it figured. The Mel Kipers of the world. Mel Kiper made a career here, and I don't know Mel Kiper, and he works hard, But if he was such an expert, why didn't he ever work with a team on personnel? I kind of look at that. Oh yeah, he's an expert, and he's all bent out of shape because Sanders wasn't drafted where he thought he should be drafted. And there's more to that. But you had this situation last year. Trot Jr., your son, comes out, and some people, these experts, had him projected maybe the end of the first round, right? Then maybe early in the second round. And then he didn't go to the fifth round.
Right.
Number one, why do you think that happened? But more, I guess the first thing I want to ask you is how difficult, not just for the player, but for the parents, how difficult was it for you to wait until it actually was the third day because of the fifth round? It was the third day, the
Right.
first round, then the next 2 rounds the next
Right.
day, and then how difficult was that for you?
Well, to answer the first part of your question, he slipped to the fifth round because he tested bad. That's the only reason. It had nothing to do with on the field play. He was one of the top linebackers in that draft last year. Obviously, I have my own opinion, but like you said, most people had him second, third round, right? But he tested bad, and when you're 6 foot, 225, 227, and you test bad, in these a lot of teams are big on numbers, right? Height, weight, speed. Height, weight, speed. You hear that a lot when you're talking about evaluating players, height, weight, speed. And Jeremiah has never been the guy that's going to wow you in the 40, in the broad jump, in the vertical jump. But when you put him on the football field and you blow the whistle, that's when you're going to see a player. And a lot of times you can't explain when you see a guy make a great play on the field, you can kind of attribute that to, oh wow, he has great speed, or he has great power, or great explosiveness. But Jeremiah has always been the type of kid that he just make plays, and you can't really explain
Mhm.
how he makes the plays, you know. So we understood that. But the second part of your question, as a father, it's really tough, man. It's tough because you know the work that has went into him getting to that point, the sacrifices that have went to him getting to that point, and you know it's tough it's tough anytime to see your kid hurt, no matter what it is, right? But you understand that that's part of the process, and sometimes that drives a person to another level of dedication, intensity, and how and the things they're willing to do to make their goals and dreams happen. So it was tough. That was part of the process, man. It happens every year. Every year somebody gets slides in the draft or don't go where they feel like they should go, and teams take what they want. You know, you don't. I don't have a football team.
Right.
I don't have any draft picks, right? And everybody likes something different, and that's fine, you know. So, you know, when you get your name called, man, you make the most of your opportunities, and your job is to go out there and prove everybody, right, that you should have been drafted where you feel like you should have been drafted, and that's it.
You know what? The name Trotter, obviously, people knew from the 12 years you played in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, I mean, Deion Sanders, I don't know if he got more hype or his kid Shador got more hype, but do you think that some of the projections, and you said he tested poorly and that's why he slipped, some of the
Mm-hmm.
projections were a little overhyped? I guess it's hard for you to say because you think your kid is a really good player because he had the last name of Trotter.
No, no, no. I think I'm right because I played the position and I coached him. So me talking about him, and I've always been so honest with my kids, right? You have a terrible game, yo, you stunk it up. You had a good game, yo, you played well, but you could have did this better. It doesn't matter what he does. I'm gonna give him his praise, or I'm gonna get on him, and then we're gonna go to the correction and go on to the next to the next game, whatever. So I've studied him, right? I can't sit here and say I studied all Shadur games. I've watched a lot of games. I can't sit here and say I've watched as much film as a Mel Kiper, right? And I know what you said at the beginning of the show, but I guarantee you Mel Kiper's watching more film on these guys that he's talking about than a lot of other people. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And um, Jeremiah, he went where he went. And listen, he just got to go to work, man. That's it. Even if you don't get your name called, you go free agent. You got to go put in the work, because at the end of the day, when you step on that football field, it doesn't matter where you get drafted. There's a lot of pressure getting drafted in that first round. There's a lot of pressure that come with it. There's a lot of high expectations that come with it. You know, and everybody want to get drafted in the first round. It's only 32 spots. you know.
Well, and that's part of it. Now, the other part of this, as far as your son, obviously, getting the advice from you, special teams guy now. Hey, listen, pay your dues, do what you have to do. How it was it hard to explain to him? Hey, you just do what they tell you to do, and everything will be fine. How tough is it for your son to accept when he played as a starter for those years in
Mhm.
Clemson to be on a special teams now? Uh, how tough is it, or your advice has helped him understand that situation?
No, it wasn't tough for him at all, man. Jeremiah's always about working, earning his way. He went into Clemson his freshman year. He only played special teams. Typically the backups get in when you're blowing a team out. Unfortunately for him, his freshman year, they didn't have many blowouts. It was always in a dogfight. And he came in next year. He battled for the starting job. He won the job. By the end of the season, he was All American. Next year came in, started All American again. We made the decision to come out. And I don't feel like staying another year would have helped him any. You made two-time All American. I mean, what else you got to prove at that level? No matter where you get drafted, um, you really just putting your body at more risk playing another year in college. That's the way I looked at it. And it's not hard for him, man. He goes in, he keeps his head down. You very seldom gonna hear him talk about anything, and he just works. He just puts in the work, man. And I told him, I said, listen, your career is a lot like mine. I didn't play my first 6 games. I didn't even dress out. I wasn't even playing special teams. I mean,
Wow.
to get drafted in the 3rd round, right? I was the Eagles' second pick because they had Trey Thomas. They had traded the second pick to bring in Hugh Douglas. I was their second pick in the second pick overall, and I went in the 3rd round. And to be the second pick, and you have, I think Ike went in the 4th or 5th round, I'm not sure, but he was playing on special teams, and I wasn't even dressing out. So that was a tough pill to swallow, man. Just not even be good enough to play special teams. So I told Jeremiah, you already ahead of me, you know. So just keep grinding, man. And my career, the next year they drafted Barrett Gardner high in the second round, and we all know, how that went.
Right.
So you just keep working, man. Just keep working. You look at it's so many stories of guys that got looked over and they had great careers. The people that's talking about the GOAT, 6th round. So it doesn't matter where you go. It's what you do after you get drafted.
All right. So as a dad, you watch your kid play, and your son has a big fumble recovery in the playoff game. But when you're watching the games and you're watching it closely, is it tense for you to watch? And obviously, there's excitement when he makes it a play on special teams. Is it tough for you to watch? Is it tougher than playing? When you're playing, you're just involved. When you're watching as a dad, it's really it's tough sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, when you're playing, man, you just locked in, right? And you can dictate what happens in the game. I can control for a certain extent what happens in that game. When you're watching as a father, you have no control. You have zero control, right? So you just hope and pray all the work he put in during the week, during all these years, he go out and have a great game. And I used to get really, really nervous before games, because I know it's a tough sport, man, and injuries happen. But you always want your kids to go out to play to their best ability. And I used to get really nervous, but I've learned over the years to I've done this, and it took a lot of prayer for me to just, okay, God, I trust you. He's yours. Whatever happens, you have control of his life and his career. So now I can sit back in peace and watch the game knowing I don't have control anyway. And I've really fully given my kids, my boys, their career. No matter how it goes, I've given it to God, and it really helps me during the course of the game.
So you don't get involved. See, I think the thing with Shedeur Sanders is, Chris Sims made a really good point when I had him on one of the shows, and I respect Chris Sims. People in Philadelphia didn't like him because he wasn't a Hurts fan at the beginning. So, what he just said. He talked about what he saw, and Jalen has obviously improved, but he said that he needs a clean pocket. He's not as athletic as some of the other guys, and now the position. You look at the quarterbacks that are drafted, and most of them are pretty athletic, and they can escape easier. They got speed. They can do the RPOs better. And he said he's just not very good without a clean pocket. And you're not going to have a clean pocket all the time. Do you think? And I don't know how much, and you touched on it briefly. Do you think part of the reason is, okay, part of it might be his play, but is part of it because they're afraid that Dion is going to get too involved? Hey, wait a minute, I don't like that offense you're running with my kid. My son's better in this offense. You think teams are worried about that with Dion because he's such a big mouth?
I mean, honestly, Howard, I can't sit here and say they're not. They haven't had those conversations, right? I'm sure because when they're in their draft rooms and they're going through the drafting process, they leave no stones unturned. That's from going back to your high school counselor, asking you what type of kid he is, your high school coach, your neighbors. They're going to talk to everybody they can to figure out what type of person you are, your parents, your upbringing. You're in a single family home. You were raised by both parents. They're going to, you know, do all the mental evaluations. And I'm sure that those conversations have come up in a lot of boardrooms, right? A lot of meeting rooms. So that could, you know, I'm sure that was an issue.
You know, when you lost the Super Bowl, and you know it was tough. You look at the Super Bowl and turnovers are killers, and that's where the Eagles were really good right now.
Yeah.
Your son, his first year, is on a Super Bowl champion. You're in 2004. It was the Super Bowl was in 2005. How difficult was it? I mean, you're right in that game. You're right in the you lose by 3. You're right in the game. And how tough is it for a player to come away from that? And I don't know if you know this stat, Trot. Teams that lose, and you had a good team. Teams that lose Super Bowls have not been back to the Super Bowl the next year. They've only been back once in 31 years, the
Mhm.
loser of the Super Bowl. So the difficulty is you come off that game. How difficult is that, especially going into the next year?
It's tough, man. It's tough. And that Super Bowl, I mean, obviously the Eagles winning this year and my son being on the team really helped me because that I've never watched that Super Bowl again.
Wow.
Yeah, I never watched it, man. And it still hurts to this day, you know. But seeing your son winning his first year, that really helped me mentally. Um, and if I told you that the Eagles had 5 turnovers and I didn't tell you the score, what would you think the score would be?
Well, it wouldn't be good. You know, the team
It'd
that
be
had 5 turnovers, and the Eagles won a game like that.
it'd be you would have said it would have been a blowout, right?
Yes, yes.
So 5 turnovers. I think 3 was in the red zone, which that was automatic. That was 9 points, and you lose by 3 points. Nobody would imagine that. And I didn't think we had a good team. I thought we had a great team. We just turned the football over, you know. And and you're going against the great Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, man. In those days, those guys was virtually unbeatable, you know.
Hmm.
Um, so it was tough, man. It was tough. It was tough. Just knowing that you're right there on the doorstep, and for me, coming back from Washington, not starting in the beginning, um, then inserting to the starting lineup, only starting 8 games, making the Pro Bowl, and for me, I was thinking, man, that would be a storybook ending to go out on top with a Super Bowl, and I just knew we was going to win that game, and so it was tough. It was tough to deal with. It was tough to handle. And then, next year everything fell apart. The wheels
Yeah.
came off.
You know, that's what happens when the team loses. It's amazing when the team loses. They don't have a good year the next year. It happened to San Francisco. It happens to almost everybody. I mean, one of the rare teams was New England, but
Mhm.
it for whatever reason it doesn't translate the next year. So all right, so now you played with Donovan McNabb, and Donovan is, I think, right now, Jalen Hurts hasn't played long enough. The best quarterback in Eagles history.
No
Uh,
doubt.
yeah, okay, and no doubt, there it
No
is,
doubt.
best quarterback. So, how do you compare Jalen Hurts and Donovan McNabb?
Man, they both great quarterbacks, man. They're both great. Donovan Donovan came into a situation where we were a bad team, man. Bad team. When I came as a rookie, it was laughing stock of the NFL.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
yeah, it was tough, and we lost a lot of games my rookie year. Then they bring in Andy Reid, Jim Johnson. That first year, my first year starting, man, we had one of the top defenses in the NFL. So defensively, we were there, we were ready. But it took the offense time. And Andy, he drafted Donovan, and he kept telling us, hey, listen, guys, Keep playing well on defense. You're on the right track. I promise you, I'm gonna right the ship on offense. Just stay patient with us. When the head coach comes in your meeting rooms and says things like that, it gives you motivation. Because sometimes we never let it get to us, but it could happen. Sometimes you can get frustrated with the other side of the ball. But what we did was we just focused on us. Hey guys, we can't control what happened on the other side. It's our job to go out and get the ball back for them guys, no matter how many times we have to do it. And Andy did. He righted the ship, and Donovan, we knew early on that he was special, and they had already drafted Trey Thomas the year before, so
Right.
they had the left tackle solidified. We had Deuce Staley, and he just slowly but surely put the pieces together. But the main piece was Donovan McNabb.
I don't know. You were here the second year. Your second year is when Donovan was drafted, right?
Yes.
Okay. After you were drafted, next year was Donovan. Do you remember all the nonsense and all the bullshit that went on in Philadelphia with the people wanting Ricky Williams? Do you remember those morons that went up to New York? Do you remember all that?
Listen, Ricky was a special player, but Andy Reid understood you can't win games without a quarterback. So he didn't listen to all that. He was like, listen, I'm getting me a quarter. I'm trying to stay around for a little bit.
Yeah, well, and you know what? Here's another thing, and I've talked about this. For a head coach to be successful, you're going to be more successful at some point if the players respect you. You got to respect the head coach, right? But to love the head coach and respect the head coach, it's hard to get both. Andy Reid, and I'm just trying to remember all those times. And Andy was just kind of a low key guy, but I know in Kansas City, they go to the wall for the guy. Did most, if not all, the players both respect and love Andy Reid? And is that what made him a great coach?
Oh, yeah, man. And you definitely respect him, especially early on. You respected how he came in and he changed the culture. Obviously, brought in his own people, started to draft his own guys. Now, on defensive side of the ball, the core group of guys that kind of evolved into special players were already there, right? And then he added other pieces, but he really started to put his stamp on the offense side of the ball, and then bringing in Jim Johnson too. So, yeah, and it was always liked, always respected, always loved, and I think he's even loved more now because he's not the same coach he was when he got drafted. And as you evolve as players, you evolve as coaches as well. You handle situations differently when it's contract time, or how you coach, or how you deal with a person on the field, off the field, through contract negotiations. He evolved in that way. The same way I'm sure you evolved from your first couple of years to now in broadcasting, right? You're not the same guys. You're not evolving. You're not getting better. So,
well,
yeah, he's always, and we called him Big Red, man. Big Red was special coach, special guy, and not surprising he's having all the success that he's having.
There's nobody that the best they can be. You always strive to get better the next day. You think
Right.
you're the best and you're great. And Tom Brady, whoever it was, Joe Montana, who I think's the best. But you always strive to be better. And the thing with Andy Reid, the people didn't like him because he didn't dime out the players. As a media person, you want, hey, if a guy made a mistake, you don't have to bury him, but just say, hey, this is where the mistake. And then you made a few in your time. That's why you were here 3 times.
Well, my situation was first situation was a lot with the money situation, but yeah, I definitely made a lot of mistakes, and listen, there's no player that's never made mistakes. There's no coaches that never made mistakes, right? So I made a lot of mistakes, made a lot of plays too. But that's the one thing that we as players respected most about Andy. No matter how blatant it was, he never dimed out the players to the media. Now, in meeting rooms, there was times when he would call out players, but in the media, he would always take the blame on himself when it was obvious whose fault it was, And we respect that as players, man. That's why we always try to defend him always try to defend him also, and as a player, man, you respect that about your coach. Take the heat. That's what leaders do.
He's the best coach in the NFL. He's better than Belichick. He's better. It's just, well, he cheated in your Super Bowl. The damn guy cheated in your Super Bowl, and you know it now.
Yeah. Listen, I remember asking one of my coaches years later, right? I don't want to say his name. I said, yo, man, you really think they were stealing our signals? He said, Trot, without a shadow of a doubt. They knew exactly everything we was running. And so that goes, now you question, like, all the Super Bowl rings, And I'm not bitter. Yeah, we could have made some more plays. I could have made some more plays in the game to help us win. But, when you're doing things that are against the rules, it's
it's just, I'm going to tell you, and I've told this story before on the show, and the stuff didn't come out till after this happened. The Eagles are in New England. Malcolm Jenkins gets an interception, pick six, and it was 99 yards.
Mm-hmm.
A player, when he gets an interception, sometimes but when he gets it for a touchdown, he keeps the football. So I'm standing there on the sidelines, and one of their equipment guys comes over and says, can we have that ball back? We'll give it back to you at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the end of the season, I said, why do they want the ball back? What's the big deal? And they'll give it back. At the end of the season, all that stuff came out. And then Tom Brady was cheating too with deflating the footballs. And I'm saying, I think back, I says, that was it. That football was deflated.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted it back just so the Eagles wouldn't recognize that football was deflated. I mean, the guy was cheating against. He cheated against you. Doesn't that piss? Be honest with me. Didn't that piss you off? You think back to the Super Bowl. It's your only Super Bowl, right? So you think back, and the son of a bitch cheated. Excuse my language. The son of a gun cheated. I'll be politically correct. He's not a son of a whatever. He cheated. Doesn't that piss you off?
How we just got through talking about you evolving. You done resorted back to the old Howard Eskin. Come on, man. You know what? To be honest with you, Howard, you think about that, right? But when I think about the Super Bowl, I think more about what we could have done better. Because whether they had flat footballs or over too much air in the balls, we should have won the game. You know what I'm saying? I can't control what they do, right? We can all control what we do. And I just think about all the plays that we left on the football field as a team, and we should have won the game, but we didn't. We made too many mistakes. They made the least amount of mistakes, and that deep in the playoffs, you can't turn the football over anytime, but especially in the playoffs, right? Yep. On the defense side of the ball, we gave up too many plays in crucial moments of the game that we shouldn't have gave up, and even though we held them to, I think I think it was 24. I forget what it was, but
it was 24-21.
Yeah. Right. So that's still too many points with the type of defense we had.
All right. So a couple more things, and one of them is, where did the axe chop come from?
So growing up, I told the story a lot of times. Growing up, we chopped wood. Growing up, that's what we did to make money. Growing up with my dad. And I chopped wood every day I can remember. I don't really remember not chopping wood. That's how long I did it in high school. And so when I started playing, and kind of making a name for myself, I saw Dawkins doing his thing, and other guys around the league doing their thing, and I wanted to kind of do something and kind of represent me and my upbringing, and so I did the axe chop, man.
Well, and people love it. That's where the Axeman came from. All right, this other thing, and it's really hard to believe. Okay, you played 3 times with the Eagles. I get all that. And just you're enough to come back, and I believe you finished your career here with the Eagles when you came back from Tampa Bay. But you got in 2005, I think it was, which was the next season after you lost the Super Bowl. You got thrown out of the opening game before the game even started. What the hell? You got ejected before the game even started. What happened?
Man, trying to defend one of my guys, I was trying to defend one of my guys. It escalated, and no punches were even thrown. I mean, I think they went overboard with the ejections. I definitely didn't throw a punch. I think what happened, remember the year before is when Pittsburgh and I think Cleveland had got into it before the game.
Uh-huh.
Right? They got into it before the game, and then the NFL was really cracking down on that. And I think the commissioner was at the game too. So now the referees, you got the commissioner at the game, and I guess they were trying to make a statement or whatever, but trying to defend one of my guys, and they actually implemented a rule after that where the warm-up, they moved the warm-up sides more away from each other. So there's a 10-yard gray area where you can't go in. And we was warming up close to their DBs, their defensive backs, and they ran on our side or we ran on their side catching the football from one of the linebackers coaches. And the Honey Jones started jawing at one of the guys. And you know, you're in game mode, man. When you're in game mode, it's a different mentality, you know. And then you see one of the guys over there, there's really nobody controlling pregame, right? When you're in the game and you start jawing back and forth or pushing and shoving, the referees jump in right away. Boom, separate you, blowing the whistles. Over there, there's nobody policing us. So now there's nobody to break you up, you know. So it kind of escalated, man, and it was tough, man. It happened, Howard. It happened so fast. I'm warming up. Next thing you know, I'm sitting in the locker room like this, looking at the TV, like, yo, am I really kicked out the game? You know.
The opening game. Opening game.
One of my buddies that flew down for the game, my best friend, he said, man, I flew down here for this.
It's like, how does that happen?
Yeah, right, man. You owe me a plane ticket.
Was Andy Reid pissed?
Andy wasn't really pissed, man. So you remember, right? After that happened, the Atlanta was walking to their locker room, and Ike was on the team. So we normally go to the middle of the field and start jumping up and down, getting ourselves hyped. Ike then already told him, yo, we ain't letting them jump around our logo. First of all, this ain't college. That's first thing, you know what I'm saying? So we on the logo, they run back out of the tunnel. So we're in the middle of the field. We faced off, jumping up and down. Everybody's talking trash. And Andy walks up to me and said, hey, he just leaned over really calm. He's like, hey, they just kick you out the game. So the way he said it wasn't believable. I said, huh? He said, yeah, they just kick you out the game. For that? So we go in the locker room, man, and, you know, Andy he's talking to the team. Hey, man, you know what they're saying over there right now? They just got your big dog kicked out the game. They're saying they're going to run the ball down your throat. And you remember Mike LaBenjo, right?
Yep.
He said, LaBenjo, this your time. This your time to prove to everybody and show up for your team. Basically what he was saying. So Brian Dawkins looks at me. He said, oh, we through? He looked at me and said, oh, we're in trouble. Like that, right? So LaBenjo comes up to me after we break the huddle in the locker room. LaBenjo comes up to me and said, Trot, man, how could you do this to me? How can I do this to you? You know I ain't ready to play. I said, bro. I said, yo, it's your job to be ready to play, right? That's your job. You know, if I tell you, you should have been ready to. They tell you all the time, you're one player away from starting. I said, you should have been ready to play like that. I said, don't worry about it, just go play hard. And man, they gutted us the whole game. Warwick Dunn was killing us, and he was killing us right in the A gaps. And it was tough for me to watch because I knew I could have made those plays. But it was even tougher watching Benjo because SportsCenter did a whole segment. They did a whole segment on just Mike LaBenjo getting whooped in there, man. And I was just like, oh, God. So I took some heat from it from the fans. Oh, you should have known better. And I ain't throw a punch, And most of the people that I talked to said, there's no way you should have got kicked out the game. But
Didn't you have a it wasn't that time. Didn't you and Ike Reese get into it before a game? Was that a game or did he just instigate somebody else? Didn't Ike?
no, we never got into it. You're probably talking about the same game.
Oh,
He got Atlanta all hyped up, because we was jumping on the field. So Ike takes a lot of heat for starting for me getting kicked out the game and
oh, okay.
starting that fight before the game.
Oh, okay. Well, he should take a lot of heat. He was stealing money when he went to Atlanta anyway.
No, man.
Everybody does that.
Hey, let me tell you something. Ike was coming off a Pro Bowl year when he left the Eagles on
Right.
special teams, and it's tough. It's tough because only one guy in the whole NFC makes it, right? So he was coming off a Pro Bowl year, and let me tell you something. If you're on anybody's roster in the NFL, you're not stealing because that means you're one of the best players in the country. You know what I'm saying? So, Ike, man, he was a tough player. He was a special team demon.
Okay. All right. Well, today, as we record the show, as we're doing the show live and people see it, you are a coach today for Stephen F. Austin. Is that correct? In their spring game?
Yeah. I'm one of the I'm not calling plays, but I'm wearing the title as one of the coaches on.
Hey, don't get your ass thrown out of the game. I could see you going after an official. It's a spring game, and I could see you going after an official.
If it's a tie game, me and Larry gonna line up on the goal line, go head to head.
It's beautiful.
You asked a question earlier about the greatest quarterbacks in Eagles history.
Yeah.
And I said Donovan because of how long he's played.
Right.
Jaws is a great one. But Jalen, man, he's on the right track, man. He's on the right track. He's still early in his career. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the National Football League. And when you talk about clutch, big games, man, he's special. He's special. And big game, he always shows up for big games. And I think he's just going to continue to get better and better and better, man. And he's on his way,
Donovan, and this, and I saw this when Donovan got criticized, he took it too personally. I mean, that's what Philadelphia is. He just, and I know a story that he complained to the chef in the cafeteria that people were ripping him.
I never heard that.
Oh yeah, he complained that they're ripping me. He took it too personally. If he just accepted what it is, and I guess it's hard because the quarterback, he gets the most compliments, but he also gets the most criticism. And if he just accepted it, and he was really, really good, and but he just took it too personally. He really just took it too personally. Did you ever see that from him?
Man, here's what I know. I know we won a lot of football games.
Yep.
I mean, he was special, man. Just some of the things he would do, and he carried that offense for years, man, years. He was a special talent, and if we'd have won that Super Bowl in 2004, you're talking about a guy that would have been up for the Hall of Fame, I believe.
Yeah.
So special talent, won a lot of football games. It's one thing we knew on defense side of the ball. When he ran out of that tunnel and he held up that 5 like this, we were excited on defense because we knew we had a chance to win the football game, man. So very fortunate to play with Donovan. Exciting player, great player, great guy, man. And we didn't get it done. And that I can't say it hurt our legacies, but it could have been we could have been etched in history as far as the Eagles are concerned if we'd have won that Super Bowl.
All right. Well, it's fun. I see a comment here. A guy said that he met you with his son, and you couldn't have been nicer. I know. I thought you were always a jerk, but no, no, no. I'm only kidding. No, but don't ever change. It's great. Don't ever change, and it's great that today's players. Some of them are a little different, but don't ever change because you've always been nice to people, and it's great that you came on the show today, and I really do appreciate it. And
Hey,
stay in touch, brother.
appreciate you having me, man. Have a
Uh,
good one.
all right, take care.
All right.
Jeremiah Trotter. It just what a great guy. Sometimes you get into these conversations, and I want to. I don't want to hold the guy up too long, but it's always so much fun. And then we talked about when he got thrown out. That was great. That was great. I didn't even ask him about T.O., but T.O. was different. I mean, I know about T.O., but T.O. was a different guy. All right, I do want to I do want to do some things, and I want to I really want to talk. I have to talk about the Phillies, but before we do that, uh, I want to ask you if you're looking, or recommend to you. By the way, just knowing that this show, first of all, that this show is presented by Stillwell Financial Advisors. Jeff Stillwell is the guy. Any kind of wealth management, uh, he's. I learned a lot from him, and the conversations got to know him. 732-343-0813. And it's great that Stillwell Financial Advisors is our presenting sponsor on the Howard Eskin Show. But I also want to tell you about an automobile. You want a car, you want a nice car, and that would be Audi of Westchester. I'm going to get probably sometime this month. I'm going to get a car, no tariffs. There's discounts on the hybrid, the Q5 hybrid, the EQ5, $5,000 off, $3,000 off the A5. Great people, great showroom, and a great selection of vehicles because as part of the Mainline Automotive Group, you have access to the largest selection of new and pre-owned Audi vehicles in the tri-state area. So stop by Audi of Westchester, located 1421 Wilmington Pike, or check out AudiofWestchester.com. That's Audi Westchester, not Audi of Westchester, AudiWestchester.com. And you want to save money on your cable? I got the guy. I know a guy who knows a guy, but he knows a guy. And that's Cut the Cord with Jason. Incredible service, and it will save you lots of money. Because what Jason's going to do is come to your house, cut the cable off, set you up with a less expensive internet service, streaming services, which include local and national channels. So you'll get to see all the Philadelphia pro games. You're not going to miss anything. And if you have a second home, they can hook that up too. No extra charge. One monthly TV bill for both homes. For more information and to save yourself lots of money, call Jason, 215-801-5858, 215-801-5858. And with summer, the weather's getting better. You want to do something. First of all, you want to clean up. You want to clean up your yard. You want to make your place really nice for the summer. Piazza Property Pros, 25 years of experience. We're not talking about experience, great experience. You want to build an in-ground pool? They can do it. You want to have renovations, any kind of reservations? Piazza Property Pros, yeah, they can do it. And it's all their people. They don't subcontract to anybody else. Landscaping, pools, anything around the home, you talk to them, see what they can do, pool maintenance. Trust Piazza Property Pros to deliver exceptional results, and it'll be within your budget. 610-566-2608, 610-566-2608, or piazzaoutdoor.com. All right, the draft. I talked about it a little bit with Trotter. The Eagles they trade out of they traded twice in the third round, which was Friday night, twice in the third round. If they don't like a player, they just get more draft picks and they can play around with that later in the draft. They just didn't think the values were right for the players there. Shador Sanders, I think part of it is I think these talent scouts, excuse me, these draft experts got carried away with the fact that he was Deion Sanders' son and made him like, oh, the second best quarter. Some of them had him projected as the best quarterback in the draft. He wasn't better than Cam Ward, but he's got some flaws. And obviously, teams know that when they draft him. He's a backup quarterback. But then you're going to have to deal with Deion if he doesn't play. It just there's multiple things why he went through the first 2 days, the first 3 rounds, and he was not picked. But the first round pick that the Eagles got seems like a great guy, Jahad Campbell. Now he spoke to, it was NFL Network after he got picked, and you could tell his personality is off the charts. Listen to Jahad Campbell. I mean, he's a natural. Now he's got to be able to play, and he's coming with an injury, and that's why he lasted as late as he did. And the Eagles don't worry they don't worry too much about those things. They have him checked by their doctors. But listen to Jahad Campbell after he got picked.
You're already saying it's a surreal moment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, nothing will be possible, without the Most High, you feel what I'm saying, and my family and my friends and, just everybody supporting me, and just paving the way for me and mentoring me and guiding me, throughout my whole journey. So shout out to everybody back at home, man. I'm coming back home. Philly, y'all know what's up. We got to turn up. We got to get lit. We got to win another freaking Super Bowl next year, man. It's on.
Never give up the microphone unless you're giving it to a draft pick that's going to a Super Bowl champion. What was it like to receive that phone call from a general manager that constructs a championship roster?
Man, it was a surreal feeling, just getting that call and just being here and, just having that opportunity and, maximizing my opportunities when I was younger and, just leading it to this point. So I'm just extremely grateful and I'm honored.
And you have a future in television when you're done playing. Congratulations.
You're damn right.
He hopes that's not any time too soon. But a local guy from the Sicklerville area, played high school ball there until his last year. It seems like now, and everybody says he's a great player. He's coming off an injury, so you got to concern yourself with that. And then in the second round, the Eagles got a defensive back, Andrew Makura, I guess is how you pronounce the name, defensive back. And defense is what helped them win. I think that the MVP was on defense. Nothing against Jalen Hurts. The MVP was on defense in the Super Bowl. Defense wins games now. It's kind of reverting back that way. Defense wins games, and the Eagles are making sure that they're okay on defense. All right, let's address the Phillies. This is absolutely brutal. And I believe, and I think this is correct, since the All-Star game last year, the Phillies have a losing record. Can you believe that? Remember, they got off to such a great start, and they didn't play well after the All-Star game. And now, if you take away those first 6 games against horrible teams at the beginning of the year, they have a losing record now. It just, and then they got shut out on Friday. They scored like nothing against the Mets on the last game in New York. Basically, they didn't score many runs. Anyway, they had 4 runs in the 9th inning, 1 game. I don't like this lineup. Stott's leading off where he should be. Schwarber should not have been leading off, but we're past that. It looks like Rob Thompson's going to keep Stott at the leadoff. In the last 2 games, when we speak live here, Wednesday and Friday, they had no extra base hits in the last game against the Mets. They had 2 extra base hits in the first game against the Cubs, and they got shut out. I just don't like their bullpen sucks. I mean, let's be honest. Their bullpen sucks. This is not a World Series team. And the manager, at some point, if they don't start playing better, the manager at some point is going to take the hit. And I don't think it's his fault. I mean, does he do everything the way everybody wants? Does he do everything the way I want? The players got to go out there and play. If the Phillies don't hit home runs, they don't score. They can't score without the home run. And it's pathetic. When the Mets won that last game on Wednesday night, they won that last game. And this nonsense baseball gives you a runner. So the Phillies scored a run in the extra inning in the 10th inning. The Mets scored two, and the second run came with two outs. I don't care if it was a bloop hit or not. The hitter made contact, and that's just the way it is. You've got to make contact. You can't always swing for the home run. You can't do that. You can't do that. And that's what they do. It's just absolutely brutal. They're not a World Series team. I hate to break the news to people. This is not a World Series team. And then it's just, it's a little blip, and it's just, and I love the guys on the post-game show, and I've mentioned this before. They're trying too hard. That's nonsense. And I'll say this. John Kruk says, well, they got to score more runs. You know what, John? That is great analysis. That analysis, it couldn't be better. The Phillies got to score more runs. Thanks, John. Thanks for that little bit of insight. I said that the other night. They're just not a good baseball. They're a good baseball team. They're not a really good baseball team. They're just not. They're not that team. They're just not that team. And they're going to have here a guy named Tony Woods. I think the Phillies should send half the team down to Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs and work on fundamentals of the game. They got to work on hitting. They got to work on contact. It's not all about the home run. I mean, look at the top of the lineup. Stott's doing a nice job. Turner's hitting, I think it's under 250 now. Harper's under 250. They don't hit, and Turner's a better hitter than that. I can't figure this out. That was a bad signing. He's a great guy. What a nice guy, but that was a bad signing. And Harper, if he doesn't hit home runs, he's not going to be an average hitter. He's going to hit 280-ish maybe, but he needs 30 home runs. But that's all he tries to swing for. Put the ball in play. All right. Phillies are going to have some challenges, and we'll see what happens there. As far as the NBA, who cares? Does anybody really care about the players? There's so many blowouts in the playoffs. It's a joke. The NBA is a joke. It's a joke. It's a bad product. The commissioner, we lost ratings, but we made improvements this year. No, you didn't. You didn't make improvements. It's to watch in a playoff game. It was one of the playoff games. It was at Oklahoma City. They won by, this is brutal. They won by 51 points. 51 points. This is the NBA. It's not college. It's the NBA. And then the next game, they're down by 29 points, and they came back to win the game. The NBA sucks. It sucks. So we've determined, okay, what sucks? The Phillies bullpen and the NBA sucks. All right. So now we told you at the beginning of the show, and here I've got my question, and it was kind of interesting to me. But whatever, I'm not going to give it away. To win a pair of Oakley sunglasses, and thanks to my pal at Oakley, you have to listen to the show, obviously. And if you listen to the Jeremiah Trotter interview, you will understand you would know what I'm talking about. At the end of the show, I'm going to come up with a question. Email your answer to the question I'm about to give you to the contact page at howardeskin.com. And the emails and the entries must be received by midnight on Tuesday, April 30th. They must be received. Well, is Tuesday, April 30th? No, Tuesday's April 29th. But they must be received by Tuesday. It says April 30th. Wait a minute. Or 12 a.m. Wednesday is April 30th. Okay, 12 a.m. Wednesday is April 30th. But they got to be received before we do our next show. And that would be midnight of that day or the night before. And I will announce the winner. All right, here's the question to win this is a really good prize. Really good prize. The question is, how many times Jeremiah Trotter lost his only Super Bowl with the Eagles, 2004 season, 2005. I'm telling you, it was a tough game for him. How many times has Jeremiah Trotter watched that Super Bowl game? How many times? Submit your entries to howardeskin.com to the contact page. How many times has Jeremiah Trotter won this and watched that Super Bowl. And we will select. There could be people that have multiple people have the correct answer. We'll take somebody at random. How many times has Jeremiah Trotter watched his Super Bowl loss? All right. To close out the show today, as we have draft weekend, and at some point I'm going to have David Akers on. Matter of fact, I forgot to mention the Trot. Dan, you see that in the background there? Trotter was on the cover of Sports Illustrated once, and there it is. I have it, Party On. And Trotter was on it once. But to close it out, and I'm going to have David Akers on. Unfortunately, his home got struck by lightning, and he's now displaced from his home. It's unbelievable for months. But we're going to have David on. But he was the Eagles selector. Bo Allen was the selector at this year's second and third round. He didn't get to do a third rounder. But Akers was the presenter. And boy, he trolled those Dallas Cowboy fans to no end. And they deserve it because, as we know, Dallas sucks. All right, here's David Akers in the 2018 draft, and it was in Dallas.
Here we go right now. We got a kicker with a pick.
The Indianapolis Colts have traded the 49th pick to the Philadelphia Eagles. To announce the Philadelphia Eagles selection, please welcome, from the University of Louisville, kicker David Akers.
What's up, Dallas?
Kicker's trolling the Cowboys.
Last year. I like standing up here before you as an undrafted free agent, representing that shield for 15 years. Tonight, I'm representing the Philadelphia Eagles, NFC East champs, divisional champs, NFC champs, and world champs. The world champs. Hey, Dallas, the last time you were in the Super Bowl, these draft picks weren't born. Woo! Tonight, we are welcoming into the Eagles
Look at Doug
family
Peterson.
with the 49th pick in the 2018 draft. The NFL would like to represent the Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas Goddard. He is the tight end from South Dakota State. Go Birds!
It was great. That was so good. You know, that never gets old. That never gets old. Never. Again, thanks to our presenting sponsor, Stillwell Financial Advisors. Jeff Stillwell is going to be your guy. You want to invest, Jeff Stillwell will be the guy. 732-343-0813. And thanks to all our partners and sponsors on the show, Piazza Property Pros, Cut the Cord with Jason, and Audi of Westchester. You got the question. You got a chance to win Oakley sunglasses. I see people's responses. Tim, good counsel, King PhD. Yeah, I am a doctor, Goldie Beacom College. I got a doctorate, honorary doctorate, so I am technically a doctor. Another, Fred Shaughnessy. The NBA is a torn product. Torn, they suck. They absolutely suck. Suck. But thanks for all your comments. Let me see if there's anything else. People love Akers. Legendary. It was legendary. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate you watching. And thanks for joining us on the Howard Eskin Show. And we will be back live on Wednesday at 7:30. But remember, this will live forever. And for all our sponsors, thank you. Remember, when I discuss you and I get to know you, you will live forever. It's not like radio. Radio is dying, and we know that. Your commercials, if it gets to a podcast, they're gone. They're gone. They sell it to somebody else. This doesn't happen here. You are with me forever into eternity. I suggest to you subscribe. You subscribe wherever you want, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. or YouTube. YouTube is probably the easiest to find us and to navigate. Subscribe, and you will be notified when the next show comes up. Thank you. Have a great weekend, week, whatever it is for you. And thanks for joining us. And thanks to everybody here for the Howard Eskin Show.